This report shows that oral nicotine pouches have helped to accelerate a 49% decline in female smoking rates in Sweden and an almost 200% rise in smoking quit rates. This is a huge public health achievement. Sweden has shown that innovation, not prohibition, is the key to a smoke-free future, and banning nicotine pouches would be a public health disaster.
Jessica, how do you see the role of women in a family and in the wider family, not just their own family, but the wider family, their role as ambassadors for health uh, in the family? And if you had a family member, a cousin, an uncle who smoked, uh, would you be willing to discuss with them the use of oral nicotine pouches to switch if they can't quit smoking?
Firstly, I see the role of women in families as central to health, because I think that usually they tend to be the primary caregivers in many countries. That's changing in many Western countries, but it's still the case. So they have that closeness and proximity with their children, their parents, their siblings, and with all members of their families generally. So I think women can take a very strong leadership role when it comes to health. And of course, if there were anybody in my family who was struggling to quit smoking, and I know from personal experience with friends, with acquaintances, with family members, I would absolutely recommend that they try oral nicotine pouches, and I would explain the risk differentiation between the different products. So cigarettes are the most risky, and there's vapes, there's obviously snus, and oral nicotine pouches are the lowest risk. So I think it's having that conversation so they're aware and can make an informed choice about what is right for their health. But I would absolutely suggest they try oral nicotine pouches.
Could you, let's say, emphasize a little bit on this aesthetical argument and the way why snus is, let's say, male connotated? So it's not an option at all. And but the aesthetical issue seems to be quite important. So you mentioned the kisses, so things like that. Or maybe you should.
Maybe it's one, I can try and answer it. Maybe Carissa would do a much better job. So the survey findings were that women found oral nicotine pouches to be more hygienic, so perceived as cleaner. They also come in a range of sizes. So I know from experience of visiting Sweden as well and speaking to female pouch users that they come in slim formats. And actually, many women like these different formats because they fit much more discreetly in their lip. So, and as mothers, they don't want to be vaping or smoking or using products around their families and especially their children, because of the stigma and the concern. So the slimmer pouches and pouches in general do seem to fit that need where they can be discreet, their children don't see them using them, and it really feeds a need for, in terms of a harm reduction tool. So it allows them to obtain nicotine much more safely than smoking and reduces that stigma. So women perceive snus as being more masculine and having more masculine identity, which obviously they don't identify with that generally. So white nicotine pouches are seen as being sleek, slim, they fit more neatly under the gum, they're more comfortable to use, and they are more appealing for women in that regard.